Seems like it's been a few weeks, and it has. 3 weeks, I think, since our last show. Stacy Clarity to your far right, Justin Sinz, and myself, Alan Karpick. Welcome to Golden Black Live. And Justin, I know, has spent hours in preparation for this hard-hitting interview. He already did his exit interview with Stacy yesterday, which is a baptism under fire. But welcome to the show, and congratulations on your Purdue career and all that you've been able to do here in your time. Can you believe it's over?
It's crazy. Everyone always says, how fast the 4 or 5 years go, but, looking back to realize now that it's over and it's kind of starting to hit you, it's crazy just to think, how fast it really does go.
People always talk about the football, obviously, but I think that the biggest thing you guys come away with generally is the relationships that you build kind of over these years. Stuff that those guys you're going to be kind of best friends with forever. Does it kind of feel like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's unique, obviously, about college is you're living with your friends in most cases.
Right.
So, it's where it's different when you're growing up and, you might have really close friends, but you're not, at the end of the night, you're going home and they're going to their house. Whereas in college, your roommates in the dorms and then your roommates off campus are the people and especially if they're on your team, you're spending close to 24 hours a day with. So you certainly grow some great relationships and some bonds with those guys. And like you said, those are the things that you'll really, really miss, going forward, because eventually we'll have to stop being roommates, I guess.
That's a sad ending in its own right. But how this show works, if you're new, you can in the chat room send us your questions. Allie will edit them carefully and send them to me, and we'll certainly pass them on to Justin and to Stacy. And also, we want to thank our sponsors, Triple X. Right, but you look close at just behind Justin's head, you'll see them all: Basham Reynolds, State Farm. Everybody wants to look at Justin.
Usually
anyway.
I'm in the middle.
Yeah, State Farm agent Trent Johnson. He blocks some of it. And then, of course, Hilton Garden Inn when tomorrow's a big day. State HDI tonight. So, Justin, the 5 years that's going back to your late in your high school days and making that decision to come from somewhat little Edgar, Wisconsin, to here you were a quarterback. Everybody has plans of how you think when you're a senior in high school how things are going to work out. How much did it work out like you thought it would?
Yeah, up until late my senior year, football wise, I thought I was going to, probably play quarterback in college, and I was getting recruited by, MAC schools to play quarterback, and had a couple offers to play quarterback, and then I was always kind of talking to bigger Big Ten schools or bigger schools, and they were more on the edge of athlete with probably hinting towards tight end. So, but it wasn't really until later, late as in November of my senior year, where I really thought that it was a good chance that I was going to play something different than quarterback. And I guess I kind of went into it with just an open mindset and was just going to give it my all, and that's what I've tried to do. And I think I certainly learned a lot that first year playing under seniors like Kyle Adams and Jeff Lindsay and stuff like that, guys who had played quite a bit. And since then I've just had to kind of progress. And looking back at it, the short time I have had to reflect, I've been obviously happy with the position change. I think it was probably my best position at this level, and something that I'm happy with the decision that I made.
And I know Stacy's probably asked you this before, but just did you ever still have that itch to do that, or sit there when you get into the huddle and say, "Hey, this ought to be me making the call here"? I mean, how much of that did that go away each year you were here? How fast did that go?
Yeah, I think you kind of hit it towards the end. I think when I first got here, it was kind of weird, like you said, not having the control of the huddle or only really having to worry about your position. That was probably one of the biggest adjustments. But then, like you said, as the years kind of go by, it starts to kind of drift away. And my arm strength maybe hasn't gone away, but everything else has gone away.
Yeah, we got Sean Robinson, another quarterback who actually played the position at the Division I level, and he probably has a thing or two to say.
Did you get an eye
that.
roll for that?
Yeah, he's eye roll.
Maybe,
yeah, from that standpoint.
But the one thing, though, I think it did help you with is just general knowledge of the game and your football IQ. Obviously, your dad is a coach as well, and so even though maybe you weren't calling the plays, you knew everybody's responsibilities, right? I mean, I felt like you were an asset to the offense in the sense of you were able to kind of see the big picture of things, and I'm sure that helped you.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I thought it was honestly pretty easy to just remember one position. So, And then especially when the new staff came in with, having more of a concept-based offense and really having to know all the positions, wideouts and offensive line, because we have to block obviously a lot too. I think that really helped, and that was what allowed me to, have maybe the success that I did, just because, I think you can never know enough. There's always more to know, and, we obviously tried, or I obviously tried to learn as much as I could while I was here, and I think that was, like you said, one of my biggest assets, for this team and for the offense.
How much, in your time, there have been a few that have modeled the uniform at quarterback, from Caleb Turbus, Robert Marv, Sean Robinson, Rob Henry on down the line. How much did you have to, I'd say, counsel your teammates, but be able to help others understand what quarterbacks have to go through? I mean, was transition, and there was sometimes challenges for guys and guys trying to win jobs. How much did you ever have to play that role as a tight end or understand that? And then did that impact where you were coming from as a player?
Yeah, I certainly think that just from playing the position, how hard it can be, and some people, other teammates, maybe not even the case, but fans, and they're quick to
fans never
look to that position and be quick to criticize, but especially in the offense that we've run the last couple of years, they were relied on to do so much that they're doing things that most people don't even know that they're doing, and to realize that and to know that, not even from my time as being a quarterback, but just being here and knowing what their responsibilities were. When you would hear stuff like that, I was always quick to caution people, like they're dealing with a lot of things, and that was another reason why I wanted to make sure I definitely knew my job, and if I could ever help, if there was ever a tight end on the field, that we were certain what our responsibilities were, because the last thing they need is the person in the huddle asking them what they have to do, or not exactly sure of what their responsibilities were. So
I guess when you kind of look back at your career, you didn't win as many games as you would have liked, certainly. Was there a common theme to that, do you think? I mean, you went through two different staffs, and obviously personnel changes each year, but was there something that you can kind of pinpoint that over the years that maybe hurt you guys?
I think it was just the overall inconsistency.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about a lot even this year, 1 week the offense would play good, and maybe the defense didn't play the best, and then the next week the defense would play really good and the offense wouldn't play the best. And when you do that consistently, that makes it hard to win games, because this league is so tough, and we're at a position where we have to execute at a high level on both sides of the ball,
right,
to win games. And I think overall that was probably our biggest issue, is just overall execution and not kind of putting it all together on Saturdays. I think you saw glimpses from, like I said, both sides of the ball, and maybe even for short series of games, but it was never kind of that season-long or streak of wins that we were able to put together. That's what kind of hurt us.
We had a question from Billy Madison, which we've kind of have talked about here a little bit, about the difference between Justin and Sean at quarterback. And again, we're not going to have a public debate, though Sean will have a chance to rebut. Did you ever get a chance, though, like even pre-practice, throw it around a little bit with the and again, Sean played the position at the college level, but get a chance to at least mentally show what you could do at quarterback? I'm trying to answer this guy's question, so we get questions. So go ahead.
Yeah, well, I certainly did play a lot of catch in pre-practice, and then I was given my opportunity in a spring game scrimmage to throw a pass, and didn't have the best outing that I've ever done before. So that didn't make the fall playbook, unfortunately.
You never threw one though, out of it, which is hard from a tight end perspective to get that.
You almost would have had more opportunity on like a punt fake or something like that.
Yeah, we had a couple that were in the mix, but they were never called. So, unfortunately.
Which of your roommates would you have wanted to throw the ball to the most? I don't know why we keep talking about you as a quarterback. You're a tight end, but I'm answering the guy's question. I'm asking Billy's question.
I would probably say Landon. He's got some pretty good ball skills and pretty electric. I don't know. Sean probably has really good hands, but I'm not sure what he could do with it after the catch.
Wow, these are fighting words.
We should have had them on the same segment.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, I don't know why we
Let
separated
Ryan have his own
offenses.
segment.
We will be having Ryan Russell and Sean Robinson in segment 2. Stacy will be, that is. I'll be off that segment. Being a coach's son and having that, was that fun for you even in high school? And was there a certain bit of independence almost when you come back to college, and that's not, how was that situation? How did that situation work for you?
Yeah, it was certainly a little different just because, in high school, football never really ended. We could, me and my dad, and I even had a brother or two for a coach for a while too. So, the game never really was away once we went home. And obviously here, it's not really away because you're living with, football players too. But
Yeah.
certainly it's a little different dynamic where, those are teammates, and that was your dad and coach relationship. But I think it certainly had its pros and cons. In high school, we could talk about things, that were specific to football at home and maybe implement them the next day or two, during practice. Whereas here, the coaches pretty much do that, and then, the players were responsible for doing it when we come in and trying to execute the best that we can.
We kind of joked, I did a radio feature with Justin earlier this year about how you never drop passes, and then Coach Parker made sure to remind me that there was indeed a drop in a game. But we talked yesterday, you had that streak, you ended your career with a streak, with a catch in 24 games, right?
Yep.
To be able to catch the touchdown here in your last, that was the Northwestern
Yeah.
game here, I think it was was it the last offensive play even maybe of the game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except,
So not only did you get to keep the streak going, but you got a touchdown at home in your last game. Was that a pretty special moment, even though the loss?
Yeah, it would have been a lot better moment if it would have been for a victory.
Right.
But to catch I caught the first one of the year and the last one of the year at home. So that was kind of, I guess, I don't know, indicative of the whole season, I guess, a little bit. But, obviously it was nice to catch a touchdown and to, to do it in the last game on senior day. And I had almost all my immediate family here, so that was pretty special. I think it was the first time they probably were all here that I scored a touchdown in. So that was pretty cool and something that I'll probably always remember.
Did you get to keep the ball?
No, I didn't. I don't know.
Do you guys get game balls after losses?
No. No.
it's about winning, as they say sometimes. So that comes into play. You have the opportunity to watch football around the Big Ten. Who are some of the tight ends in the league that have impressed you the most in terms of guys that you watch and say, especially maybe even earlier in your career, you say, these are some skills that I'd like to be able to emulate. And some guys have really impressed you.
Yeah, I really liked Fedorowicz from Iowa last year, and he played while I was here quite a bit. He was I think kind of the true definition of what most people probably see as a tight end, a run blocker and a pass catcher, and obviously Devin Funchess up at Michigan had a lot of catches, and then this year they actually just moved him to wide receiver. He was certainly fun to watch, on the perimeter, and then Wisconsin's had some good tight ends too, and they're pretty much in the same boat as we are here, where they're they have to run block a lot, obviously, but also can catch some passes. And I actually know their guy right now, Sam Arneson, pretty well. We're both from Central Wisconsin, so we know each other pretty well, and I thought he had a pretty good year this year too. So it's always. You always want to kind of compare yourselves to the other tight ends in the league, and to make sure that your position group is playing at their level or above their level. And obviously in the Big Ten there's a lot of good tight ends, so to do that week in and week out's pretty tough.
Did it help you going forward? Obviously, you're going to try to continue on kind of this football path. The way you had to do so many things in this offense, especially the last 2 years. You were detached quite a bit, but you were kind of H-back for a while, and just all the different roles that you had to play and the different kind of style that you had to play.
Yeah, I think so. Like you mentioned, being in the backfield, being in the wing, being on the ball, being in a three-point stance on the ball. We kind of were asked to do it all, and especially last year when Gabe was hurt, I was kind of doing everything that we asked our tight ends to do, and it wasn't just in the backfield or on the line. It was a mixture of both. So I certainly think, going forward, just playing both the Y and the H, in this West Coast type style offense will certainly help, and even more so probably the terminology that we were able to gain these last couple of years and stuff like that will certainly aid, when you're given a playbook that it's not going to be as overwhelming as it maybe would have been without the new coaching staff coming in.
And that was something that, Alan, if I can go.
Go ahead. Yeah, sure.
A lot of talk the first year when John Shoup did come in, and it was like, why does it have to be so complicated? Why did But that's it, right? I mean, it's going to help you guys. I mean, it may be tough to learn now, but it's really going to help you guys down the road when those of you who are fortunate enough, I suppose, to kind of get those shots at the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. He didn't, I don't think, really dumb it down at all from what he took from the professional ranks. And, at first was it obviously hard to understand things that really, I guess, don't have any correlation to what you're actually doing. They're just kind of names that maybe Bill Walsh created in the 70s or 80s or something. But now it certainly is, like you said, it's going to be to our benefit, and all of our positions, line, running backs, quarterbacks. I mean, probably quarterbacks the most too, because handling all that verbiage in the huddle will really, help any of them who are, like you said, able to get a chance at maybe the next level, or going to a camp. They might be one of the only quarterbacks at a camp for rookies or young guys who can even call a play right away. So
Yeah.
I think it certainly has helped all of us, and will continue to help us going forward.
Is that the thing that lay people or fans truly the thing they don't understand about what you go through? Is it the physical side, the preparation, or is it literally the studying and being able to execute that those of us that may not have played the game or at that level truly have no clue outside of we all look at the statistics and see how many passes you caught and what the score of the game was, but is that the thing that's most misunderstood, do you think?
I'm not sure if that's more misunderstood than how actually physically hard. I mean, I think there certainly is both sides. I think sometimes, people might think that football is a relatively easy game, and I think it is in certain points, but, like you said, back to your point of, being able to understand what everyone is doing and to execute at a high level does take some certain, knowledge and some execution. But I also think, some people just don't realize, when there's, at this level, when there's 22 guys out in the field that are all extremely talented and are playing 100 miles an hour, that, stuff happens really fast, and probably a lot faster than what it looks like on TV. To make some plays that might look really simple might not really be that simple in reality. But I think it's probably a combination of both. I don't know what one actually is maybe most undervalued.
I think that the crazy thing is being able to go to practice and be that close, on the field. You're like, dang. I mean, as somebody who's never played football, like, you guys are big anyway, and then you put the pads and the helmets on, and then you're hitting each other, and you're like, I don't know how they get up sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so physical. It's kind of ridiculous when you actually kind of see it up close.
But we tend to, again, minimize it because we watch it from a distance,
Yeah.
and guys get tackled, and we count how many yards they got, and we say, well, here's the down. Don't even care. We do care that whether you're healthy or not, but that's it. All right, you got some fan out there asking about, I hear that you're a pretty good dancer. Are you able to give us a little demonstration of the jerk dance?
I don't know
Can
if we
you
have
do it
room
by
in here.
sitting?
No, you did that in a video with me, correct?
Yeah, you can send them to the video.
It was, right?
We'll send
Because
them.
I asked you a touchdown dance, and that's the one you did, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
We get everything done here at Golden Black, you know?
Yeah, we try to. So we cover all
We got it all.
bases from that standpoint. All right, other questions about tight ends most likely to step up next year. Obviously, there's going to be a huge void with three of you in some ways gone in terms of experience. Who's coming next? Who can play?
Yeah, like you said, a lot of those guys didn't get a ton of reps. Jordan Jurasevich was a guy who, I was telling Stacy yesterday, just kind of fell into our lap, and a guy who's 6'3.5", 250 pounds, and is one of the strongest guys on our team, and especially at our position, and plays with great leverage. And I certainly think that he'll be in the mix to play Y quite a bit. Curry played a lot of H this year and kind of has that body frame, the 6'2", 6'2.5", 250 pounds, has had experience at fullback, so that won't be any adjustment to him. And then, we got those young guys and guys like Carlos and Herdman and Matt Burke, who are all, continue to develop. But, in this league, when you have people graduate or move on for whatever reason, those guys have to grow up pretty fast. And, that's something that I guess we've all kind of had to do in certain points. I know that my redshirt freshman year, the first year I was able to play, the first game I went into the game as the third tight end and ended up playing over 50 snaps because both Gabe and Crosby got hurt that game. And so you get kind of thrown in the fire, but you learn pretty quickly when you're thrown in there. And I think any of those guys are fully capable, and people that fans should be excited to see play, and they'll certainly execute and play well.
We hear you guys talk a lot about your rooms, obviously you mean that kind of your position group, and you guys hang out a lot, obviously. You're losing a different, not just what you guys kind of give on the field, but that 4 seniors are out of that room now. I mean, and I've heard Jordan doesn't talk.
Yeah, he's pretty quiet.
So who, from that standpoint, like, who is going to be the guy who maybe tries to step up as a leader at that position group? I mean, is this really going to be interesting for Coach Parker to kind of grab these guys and really kind of develop them in that sense as
Yeah,
well?
I think probably so. You know, just like you said, we had 4 seniors, so they didn't have to do too much leading.
Right.
And, you know, especially since they were still kind of waiting to get their opportunities on the field. But JJ is certainly a guy who's a lead by example type of guy. I mean, he set the tempo with his work ethic and how he practices and right along through. And Curry and Carlos, they're certainly some more talkative guys, I guess you could say. So I think they could develop into,
Yeah.
you know, leadership roles quite easily as well.
All right, last question that you'll probably get be asked in your job interview when you're interviewing for some CEO position a few years from now, or a couple of years from now. What did you learn from the transition? You know, you had a maybe not won as many games you want to, but you had an interesting experience. You can't say, you know, from coaching change to, you know, what did that experience teach you in terms of having to make a transition from one staff and guys that you've gotten to know very well, and some of that goes on to this new staff? What did that teach you?
You know, I think it just taught you to kind of persevere and to be open to change. You know, we were pretty caught off guard, I guess you could say, when the transition did happen, because you're in the inside. You know, you don't always hear, you know, exactly what's going on outside. And there were certainly things that, you know, we changed from, you know, our schedule as, you know, as football players, how we, you know, behaved on and off the field, and, you know, our practice schedules. You know, our whole system was kind of turned upside down very quickly. And I think for a lot of guys that was maybe hard to kind of take and adjust to. But, you know, certainly going forward, you know, industries or companies, organizations are always changing, and you know, that's something you have to deal with. And I think, you know, as a life skill, just that ability to kind of go with the changes and be able to react positively, I think is, you know, the biggest thing that I'll take away. And obviously also, you know, the new friendships and the relationships that you're able to grow. You know, like I've said in the past, you know, I certainly don't have any, you know, negative feelings towards anyone that I've really worked with on this university. So, you know, it was nice to, you know, get another set of, you know, men and teachers to learn from and grow from. And, you know, that was certainly one of the positives of the whole deal.
All right. Well, Justin, thank you so much for taking the time, and we'll let you, like I said, we'll let Sean get in here if Ryan will give him time to talk in between to rebut some of your comments. But no, thanks so much for your time, and so we'll switch, do a little musical chairs. Stacy will host segment 2 with Sean Robinson and Ryan Russell. That ought to be interesting, and we will look forward to having you back here in about a couple minutes on Gold and Black Live.